Excellent. So I have spoken in front of thousands of people all over the world, and I've never used notes. But what I'm about to share with you is so important, I don't want to screw it up. So forgive me. It was October 10th, 2010, and the rain was coming down unlike any other time that I remember in northern Colorado. And my soul was also raining. In fact, you could say the tears were streaming down my cheeks, because as I was driving in the rain, the car I was behind was my wife's of 23 years. And the reason we were driving was because she was moving out. Now, I've experienced great success in my life, both professionally, and I've got the admiration of friends and peers around me. I've had the appearances of having it all together. I know many of you can relate to that, but the truth was, my world was falling apart. Let me start by saying that I take full responsibility for the failure of my marriage. In fact, I'm 100% responsible for my 50% of it, and then quite a bit more. And in case your imaginations go to, oh no, what did he do? Don't let your imagination go to those dark places. Just think that I wasn't present in my marriage, and I'm to blame for that. And I say that to honor my ex, who was my best friend for over 2 decades and is the mother to my children and hopefully one day to my grandchildren. So I have great respect for her, and I would never wish to disparage her in any way. And that's not what this bold talk is about. The initial separation was the catalyst for a period of unprecedented growth in my own life. In 1988, I attended a Zig Ziglar seminar called Born to Win. It was the first time that I had had exposure to Zig and his teachings, and it's where I discovered that you get what you want when you help enough other people get what they want, and that people don't care what you know until they know how much you care. Through him and his books, I learned so much about relationships and about sales, and his book, See You at the Top, I must have read it I don't even know how many times, and listened to the tapes in the car as I was going on sales call. That's why it's ironic that it's the weekend that I was supposed to share the stage with my hero, Zig Ziglar, in a seminar in Dallas for the first time that the separation took place. In fact, she was supposed to go with me to the conference, and a boneheaded move that I made the night before prevented that from happening. And I knew that when I returned home, that bags would be packed. So Zig was prepared to see me at the top, but was I ready for what would come at the bottom? I was literally devastated when she left. Places, people, things would come and go throughout my life, but I never experienced true grief until that moment. And by true grief, I mean that place where it feels like that place where your heart is has been replaced by a black hole, just imploding in upon itself. And I knew people who had grieved, and I thought I understood what it was, but until I encountered that moment, I didn't. The seconds would sometimes feel like hours. This is what it's like to grieve, and all the stages that go with it: denial, bargaining, anger, depression, and acceptance, and very little of that fifth one, especially early on in the process. But the choices that I made next are what made all the difference. That's the dark part. Let's talk about what happened as a result of that. Because in just a short time, the trauma in my life transformed into something pretty wonderful. So regardless of the trauma and struggles in your life, it's guaranteed you're going to encounter stuff that's heavy, stuff that will make you grieve. And when that situation comes, whatever it is, whether it's the death of a loved one or separation, divorce, a sickness, or any other type of trauma, how you deal with it next is going to determine where you go with it. A lot of people turn to all kinds of vices: drugs, alcohol, TV, the internet, pornography, other relationships, to try to numb what's going on inside them. But I realized at that moment, I couldn't turn to anything unhealthy. I need to take a good, hard look at myself and see what's broken here, and there was a lot broken, and what needs to be fixed. So I made a choice. Actually, it was a series of choices designed to make a more whole me. Let's start physically. I was not in shape. I weighed 225 pounds, I'm 5'10", I was wearing size 40 jeans that were tight, I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, occasional anxiety attacks. I was not happy with the way I felt, and I saw a video of myself speaking on stage, and my stomach entered the room, and then the rest of me came behind it, and I thought something here needs to change. Now, I didn't try to lose weight and get more fit, because as the great sage Yoda would say, there is no try, only do. It was a decision that I made, and over the next 6 months, I dropped 55 pounds and got down to a size 32 waist, and I felt better than ever. And it wasn't a system of somebody else's that I followed as some sort of fad. I found out what worked for me. Conventional wisdom says we eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. Well, that's just not going to work for me. I'm not blowing my first meal, my biggest meal, first thing in the morning. So I had a protein shake in the morning, which I've still done now. It's been almost 4.5 years of doing the same thing. A power bar and some dark chocolate with high antioxidants for lunch, maybe some nuts in the afternoon, and then a more substantial meal for dinner. And then I got out there and I walked. Here's the Joel Comm diet plan. Eat less, move your body more. It's amazing, it's revolutionary. Now, if one of the other diets or systems is working for you, go for it. No reason not to. The essential thing was not the plan that I used, but that I did it and I made a decision that this was going to happen. Emotionally, I was not the most healthy being. And what I realized is I had never truly dealt with the trauma from my own past. And I found one way or another to self-medicate and to deny the effects that previous events had had on me, and how my own lack of emotional intelligence affected those around me. The break in my marriage wasn't only a tremendous source of pain on its own, but it triggered my mom leaving my dad when I was 12 years old. Doesn't matter how many times you've been to therapy, if it hasn't clicked yet and made sense for you, you get to relive that all over again. So I spent long hours in my therapist's office, countless hours on the phone with friends, just opening up and bearing my soul and being real. Here I am, the social media guy, preaching authenticity, and I wasn't being honest with myself or the people around me. And look, I can't say I've arrived by any stretch. I'm a work in process and hopefully a little further down the road than when I started. But I worked so hard at it that my therapist said I did 18 months of therapy in 6 months. I took a sabbatical from my work, sold off a couple businesses, and really took the time I needed to get my act together. And now I have empathy, especially when I have friends, other men in particular, that contact me and say, wow, it's not working out, I don't know what to do. She wants a divorce or she wants to leave. And now I can really relate in a way that I couldn't before. And that makes the struggles somehow more meaningful. So we've done physically and emotionally, which brings me to the third part, spiritually. Now, I understand that talking about God isn't the politically correct thing to do in a lot of circles, but I have the microphone on. So, if I'm going to be authentic, I have to share this part of my story with you as well. And I don't know how I could have navigated this time of my life without God. Prayer honestly became my primary language. I had this alpaca rug, about 5 foot long by 4 foot wide, in my bedroom. Nice fur on it. And that became my prayer rug. That rug means so much to me today because I spent countless hours weeping, toiling, striving, praying, trying to make sense of all this and trying to put a broken heart back together. And I connected with God in a way that I didn't know was possible. Rather than feeling like God was out there somewhere, I experienced the love and compassion of a living being who really understood what I was going through and seemed to care about me. And I'm one of those that believes you don't have to check your brain at the door to have faith. I found myself thinking about life, both the physical world and the spiritual realm, in a completely different way. And I believe the greatest transformation of all isn't in the physical body, because eventually this thing's going to crumble and turn to dust, as we all do. And even our emotions, our mind, will, and emotions, that kind of goes with us. You might think that's our soul. I think that the place deep within us where our spirit resides is what it's really all about. And it's a place that I think is designed to connect to God. Now, I wish I could say that in these realms, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, that all my hard work and my clarity led to the reconciliation of my marriage. It did not. And while I would never wish the kind of pain that I experienced on anybody else, I wouldn't trade who I've become for anything. You often hear this in people that have fought off cancer or other diseases. They would never wish to go through the process and never wish it on even their worst enemies. But what they've learned along the way is priceless. I've learned to accept that I am perfectly flawed, very flawed. And I've become more comfortable in my own skin, because once we accept that, hey, this is all we got, this is all we bring to the table, then we don't have to be posers. We don't have to strive to please others. We can just be who we are. Now, I've got no doubt that many of you within earshot and those who might see the video later are dealing with something major in your own life. It could be a marriage that's on the brink. Could be a child that is going down the wrong direction. Could be a health issue. Could be something that you or a loved one is dealing with financially. Could be in your business. It could be any kind of addiction. Since I believe in authenticity, I believe you embrace who you are with all your flaws, and when you do, people identify you as a real person, flesh and blood that they can relate to. So it's my hope that my transparency and my authenticity here today has resonated with your soul and that you'd be encouraged in your life. While I've personally grown from my trials, without this experience being shared, others can't benefit from it. So may you have the courage to face what's confronting you head on. May you honestly assess your responsibility in whatever is taking place, and may you make a decision. Decide not to be a victim. And it could mean that you take control of your physical health with a change in diet or exercise. It could mean you take control of your emotional health by getting real with a therapist, family member, or a friend. Or it might mean recognizing that no matter how small you feel in the grand scope of things, if you humble yourself, you may discover there's a God who loves you, and He is your biggest fan. Thank you very much.